Good morning or afternoon, and hello to everybody who's joining us today. If you just bear with us for a minute or two, we have a large number of people that we are expecting to join us, so we'll just give everybody a chance to enter into the webinar and then we'll kick things off. Say hi to people who are joining us now, so we're just giving it another minute. I might wait till it gets up to 100. We have 460 people registered, but never know who's going to show up on the day. Okay, we're close enough. We're close enough to the magic 100, so we'll kick off, and then I'll see that people can join at any point. So good morning again, good afternoon. Hello and welcome to our event today on gender equity, obstacles and opportunities for rural women, mark International Rural Women's Day. My name is Orla Kilcullen, and I'm the Programmes Director for Self-Help Africa, and I'm the moderator for today's event. So our webinar today features women from across Africa who are rural women themselves and who are engaged in enterprise and development, specifically promoting opportunities for women. As part of the conversation, we'll hear about their own journeys and the work that they are doing today. So just before we get into the main event, just some housekeeping. So for those of you who are on Twitter, the hashtag for our event is SHA Rural Women. And the tag being used more broadly is, it just escaped me right now, maybe one of my colleagues can throw it in the chat function there so we can broadcast the event more broadly on Twitter as well. We would like to hear from you and include your voice in the conversation. So please do ask questions, share any comments you have. You can use the Q&A panel on the right-hand side of your Zoom window to share it anytime during the webinar. And then there will be time for a Q&A at the end with all of our speakers. Right, okay, let's get things going then. So rural women make up a quarter of the world's population, 41% of the world's agricultural labor force. You must bear in mind, though, that this percentage is in fact probably going to be much higher. There was a recent survey amongst rural women in Ireland, and 64% of the women who classified themselves as not working on a farm, when questioned, were in fact carrying out many farm tasks. In Africa, 80% of the agricultural production comes from smallholder farmers who are mostly rural women. They don't have equal access to land and other resources such as credit, markets, education, extension services and inputs. For example, women who own just 1% of agricultural land receive only 7% of extension services and less than 10% of agricultural credit. Female-led businesses make up 30 to 40% of SMEs on the African continent, but only 2% of procurement by large corporations is bought from women-led companies. 52% of women-owned SMEs are credit constrained, which is the highest share amongst the world's emerging regions. However, research shows that companies with women at the top often make better decisions, produce better products, retain key business advantages over more homogeneous companies. This develops new markets, increases their market share, and increases their margins and profits. Yet, in spite of all of these benefits, women-led businesses are often perceived to be riskier, meaning that they miss out on many of the investment opportunities, resulting in the incredibly low credit access that they have. So overcoming all of these types of gender inequalities, they can have powerful economic and social impacts. So it's really crucial that women have the resources and the agency to make positive decisions about their lives, which will then impact on the communities that they live in. Through the work that Self-Help Africa does to redress this, we encounter many remarkable women, and we're very lucky to have 4 of them with us today, so we can hear about their personal and professional journeys, about the challenges they've encountered and overcome, or the challenges that they are helping others to overcome. So I'm just going to give a quick introduction to our great lineup of speakers, and then we can get into the discussion. So we're joined by Esther Ainyo, who's the Regional Program Manager for Self-Help Africa in the Eastern region of Uganda. She's been with us for over 14 years and remains as passionate today about her work as she was when she first started with us. Then we'll be joined by Jane Maina from Kenya. She's the Managing Director of Vert Limited, a company she founded with her husband, but has grown from a small family-led business to a company that sells to local, national, and international markets. Beneles Champeza is joining us from Malawi. She's been working with Self-Help Africa for over 15 years, so is a veteran amongst us SH Africa staff. She has worked as an agriculture extension advisor and as a focal point for gender and nutrition on one of the largest projects that we've ever implemented with the Kalima program in Malawi, working with over 400,000 households. And then last by no means least, we're joined by the formidable queen of recycling in the Gambia, Aissatou Cissé. Aissatou founded Women's Initiative Gambia, which helps financially poor women in the Gambia to improve their skills and standard of living of their families and their communities. So to kick us off on our panel of speakers today, Esther is going to go first. So Esther is working for us in Eastern Uganda, originally trained as a social worker. She's been working as a project manager for 14 years and is very passionate about her work with women in the community, and is happiest, she tells me, when she's out with those women and not stuck behind her desk. She's a very busy woman who's 5 children, as well as an incredibly busy job. And we're delighted that she's taken the time to speak to us today, even if it is from behind her desk. So welcome, Esther. I'll pass over to you.
Good morning and good afternoon, team. I'm very humbled to be part of the panelists today, and I will be taking all of us through what the rural women in Teso go through and what Self-Help is currently doing to support the women. Is anyone going to project my presentation? Or I can do it. There's a lot of light in my background.
Let me just check. Ashling, can we put up Esther?
There's a lot of light.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So I'll be speaking about the challenges facing rural women in Teso, Northeast Uganda. As you see in the background, that is a bungalow in Teso. It acts as a sting room, it acts as a bedroom, it's a store at the same time, all in one. So the couple there is putting in their ox plow after farm work during the day. Next, please. So Uganda is home to 47.1 million people. 51% of the current population are women. 75% of the people live in the rural areas and in farming communities, with 76.8% of the women working in agricultural sector and mainly on small farms. Ola has already introduced me, so that is me, kindly. Next. Yeah, so what keeps me going? It's the women that you see in there. They are very resilient, very committed, very focused and determined to make it amidst the challenging situations that they live in. And I must say, if we in this room, in this meeting, went through what the women in the picture go through, I bet you most of us would have given up. They really go through a lot, but the resilience breaks my heart, and that's what keeps me going. And I'm really attached to the rural women that we work with. So who is the rural women that we are talking about here? She's a wife, she's a mother, she's a caregiver, a cook who abstains from eating until her family is fed, an activist who shouts for positive change even when her voice is not heard, a farmer who feeds the nation yet remains unrecognized, a widow whose culture leaves her with nothing after the death of her husband. In Teso, when you lose your husband, the land is either, the property is either given to your son, if you have children, and specifically a boy child. If you don't have a boy child, the property is given to your brother-in-law, who will then take care of you and the property. The property is never given to the widow. So this makes the rural woman poor and marginalized in all aspects of life. A patient whose sickness is her own problem. When she's sick, it's her own problem. When the members of her household are sick, it is her problem. She's the most resilient human being I have met. That's the rural woman. So as Self-Help Africa, our projects always make it a point that we target 60% of the total beneficiaries have to be women. And we support and empower them through the Girls Action Learning System methodology, which promotes cohesion at household level. It enhances joint visioning, joint planning, and joint implementation of their household plans. So you find that both the husband and wife and their children sit on a round table and kind of vision. Where do they want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, and how do they get there? That's the power of girls. Previously, the man would get his money, spend it the way he wants, and the wife would not ask. The wife, using the little money she has, would take care of the family. So the load would really be entirely on her. The advocacy engagements that Self-Help does builds the self-esteem and encourages women to have confidence and speak for themselves. The VSLA, that is the Village Savings and Loans Associations, offer credit to the women groups at no collateral because they do not own anything in terms of fixed assets that financial institutions will require for them to get loans. So they entirely survive on the VSLAs for credit facilities. The fuel efficient stoves has two aspects. It has an environment conservation aspect because it uses less firewood, but it has a gender face to it because the woman gets to use as low as 50% of firewood if she used the ordinary cook stoves. So you find that she gets to go out to collect firewood much less times, but also they emit less smoke. So she tends to cook in a cleaner environment, and this minimizes the risk of her getting expiratory complications at a later stage. Next. So meet Helen. Helen and her community were displaced by the LRA rebels in 2003. While at the camp, life was difficult with no clear source of income. Helen told us that she had to go and sleep with the army men in the barracks for food and cash. Not only her, but most women did that. They couldn't access their farmland and homes because it was insecure. They were confined in the IDP camp. Her husband knew about it, but they felt they would rather die of HIV than see their children die of hunger. So Helen stayed in the camp for 1.5 years, and after that went back to her community. After about 4 years, she felt her health was not okay. She started becoming sickly. And during the same time, Red Cross came to her community to offer HIV testing services. At first, she was skeptical and worried and didn't have the confidence to go for the test. But one morning she woke up re-energized and went for the test, which turned out to be positive. Helen was depressed, but not shocked. So the HIV prevalence within her community was certainly high. So with a group of 35 women, they mobilized themselves, formed a drama group, which they now used for sensitizing the wider community. By 2009, her group had grown to 120 women, all HIV positive. So during that time, her confidence and belief had been transformed. She was now everyone relied on her. And in 2011, she got elected into political position, a position she held for 11 years. Her group was called Achamutu. Achamutu literally means we have accepted our fate. So in 2014, Self-Help Africa supported the 120 farmers, women, all HIV positive, to start growing vegetables using small-scale irrigation. So this would then guarantee reliable source of vegetables, which they really required at that time. Self-Help also supported them start a VSLA scheme. This is where they could go and borrow money whenever they needed it to access medical treatment, as well as any other need that they wanted at home. Then their drama group grew. Self-Help supported them with a few costumes, and other organizations were using their drama group to create awareness within the community. To date, by 2009, Helen had counseled over 1,000 people, and she still continues to counsel them to date. She is a busy mother of 11 and 8 grandchildren to take care of, in addition to what she does for the community. Meet Grace. Grace is another resilient woman. Grace did not go to school because her parents let her stay at home to take care of her siblings. At the age of 19, she felt enough was enough. She was working like a donkey at home. So she thought getting married would make her life better, but this was far-fetched. When she got married at 19, she got married to a peasant farmer, and usually in Teso, it's the women who take care of the households. So she used to work in people's farms for as low as less than €1 per day, which wasn't enough. As a result, 2 of her elder children dropped out of school. She started selling pancakes, which was earning her €20 per day, but that was not enough either. So she took part in a self-help scheme that supported her to start a goat rearing business, which now earns her €114 per month. She feels that is putting her at a much better level than where she was. Her focus is for her 2 younger children who are still at school to complete school. She has also drawn up a plan to build a brick house. As you might see in the background at the far left is the house she stays in right now. Next, please. Next. Christine. Oh, I beg your pardon. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Christine is 26 years old. She has 3 children. She dropped out of school at 16 years when her parents, who were subsistent farmers, couldn't pay her school fees. So during the course of her stay at home, a neighbor in the village lured her with small gifts, and she got married to him at the age of 19 years. For income, she worked as a laborer, and she was paid less than €1 per day. In 2022, this year, she earned £216 from selling sunflower. And she told us this is the highest amount of money she has held in her life. She was so happy and grateful to self-help for coming to her rescue. Through the girls training program, she has drawn up plans to start a piggery business, and she hopes to borrow money from the VSLA to do so. Her major focus at the moment is for her children not to drop out of school like she did. So she is determined to do whatever it takes to make sure that her children complete school. Next. So what do studies tell us about the rural woman? Small-scale farms that are farmed by women are on average 30% less productive, because 2/5 of this productivity gap is attributed to women's greater childcare responsibilities. 1/5 is blamed on the difficulty women experience in accessing markets, especially in the rural areas. Next. So what is the game changer? If we support women to own productive assets, especially land, it will change their lives. While conducting gender activities, self-help always invites both husband and wife into the meetings, even if it's only the husband or wife who are members or supported farmers. We go that extra mile to invite both of them so that they share and agree and discuss and vision where do we want to be as a household, as a family, and it has worked. Enhance girl-child education through advocacy. The advocacy committees usually conduct community sensitizations and also encourage, go door to door, encouraging communities, households to send children to school. Support access to credit. Women do not own land, neither do they have permanent assets. So what self-help does is to link the women groups as a team to a credit institution where they use their VSLA money as a guarantee, as collateral to get credit, and it has worked. During trainings, we all know the rural woman has to wake up, fetch water, go to the farm, prepare lunch before coming for the training. So what we focus on is to ensure that the trainings that we conduct involving women are as brief as 4 hours, between 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. In this way, they have time to take care of their household as well as attend the training. Next. Yeah. So when we do that, we get such happy faces, and we have seen it work. Next.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Esther. There were some really powerful stories in there and some kind of great suggestions and kind of guidance in terms of what we should be continuing to do. So just a brief question before we move on to the next speaker. You can make some of the good suggestions in terms of what we should be doing in our projects, but have you seen any positive changes in the 14 years that you've been working with SHA or beyond in terms of how things have improved for women? Or is it still exactly the same problems that there were when you first joined?
I must say I have seen tremendous changes. The women are very powerful. They only need to be tickled a bit to move on, but they are always committed. We have seen 61-year-old woman constructing a house just because she was supported by Self-Help Africa. We have seen the elderly, not only the young women, get out of their comfort zones of begging to do something for themselves. We have seen young mothers getting empowered to speak for other mothers in their same condition or situation. So it's really very powerful. And it's said that it's when you target a rural woman, you target the entire community, because whatever they do always spills over to the entire community.
Sure. Great. Thank you very much. There are a couple of questions coming in, but I think we'll save them to the end, and we'll move on now, if that's okay, to Jane Maina as our next speaker. So just a quick recap. So Jane is the managing director for VERT Limited. So Jane started her career in the UN working for UNICEF and UNDP, and in 2000 she and her husband took the bold step to set up VERT. So initially focusing on production processing for export markets, but have expanded more recently into production for local markets and national markets. In 2013, they took the step to deliberately switch from a fully commercial model to sourcing 100% of their produce from Kenyan smallholder farmers, 46% of whom are women. So Jane is going to tell us now about the steps she has taken to make VERT a truly women-friendly agribusiness. Over to you, Jane.
Thank you, Ola, and thank you, everyone. Grateful for the opportunity to speak to us about that. I am speaking from a rural township called Kadome in Machakos County, Kenya, where our business is based. Welcome.
VERT Limited is an agribusiness that works with smallholder farmers to produce horticultural produce and then transform it into processed products. Mainly we deal with the mango fruits, and we process mango fruits into pulp as well as dried mango chips with about 3,000 farmers We seek to make our operations zero discharge. All the peelings, we actually dry them and put them back to fire our boilers. We have pulp, which we sell locally to juice processors as well as for export. Then the dried mango has its market in Europe. And that gives us the capacity to offtake all of the smallholders, farmers' mangoes.
Yes. Thank you. So a bit of background on how VAT was started. We have our genesis back in the year 2000, when we started off only on one line of business, exporting fresh produce. And at the time, as Ola said, we were sourcing from commercial sourcing, as well as trying to grow what we were selling, until 2013, when there was a greater call to responsibility in what the exporters are putting out in the markets in Europe. We made the decision that the only way we would assure the market of traceability of the products that we were dealing with, and therefore the safety and also how to build sustainability into our business, was to engage directly with the smallholder farmers. So, and from then on, we have endeavored to source 100% of our produce from the smallholder farmers. Then we did the business of export of fresh produce until 2018, when again we made a strategic decision to diversify the business, move more into value addition. And this was in part motivated by the fact that we were dealing with the farmers who were supplying us with the vegetables, but they were also growing other products that we were not able to offtake at the time. So we saw the opportunity of getting into the mango value chain, add some value to mango, which was or still continues to an extent be lost at the farm level before it finds its way to the market. And that's how we got into the business of pulping first, and then with the pulping, actually starting from the year 2020, got into a complementary production activity where we are drying mangoes and exporting them to the market. So we are increasing our market, and therefore the need to, and also a market for the farmers that we are dealing with. Next slide, please. Yes, and this is just a brief of what our business model is like. So we have at the center of our business, our primary partner is the farmer. And then we source the produce from the farmer, bring it to our factory here in Machakos. And from here, we put it into our 3 business lines, which is the fresh vegetable at the middle, which is what we have always done. And then we also do the pulp. And the pulp and the drying business has synergized quite well, because we source from the same farmer, from the same tree, but what we cannot put into the dried line goes to the pulping line, and we sort of recoup the full value from the produce that we collect from the farmers. And what that means is that we are able to offtake all of the farmers' fruits right from the beginning of the season, and we keep at it until the fruit season is completely finished. And we're able to give different values for the produce as the season evolves. Then and you can see that our market for the fresh has always been in Europe, and continues to be. Then the dried fruit also has the market in Europe, and the pulp we sell to the juice processors locally, as well as export within the region. And now with the opportunity of the Africa Free Trade Agreement, we can only see how that will increase the amount of products that we put to the regional market. The next slide, please. The nature of our business is such that we work a lot with women. And this is, for me, a big motivation to get to work. Having grown up as myself as in the rural setup, I am happy to engage and be part of the improvement of livelihoods within the local environment. Our business, I am proud to say, has had an influence and a positive impact on the communities that we work with, and we have directly impacted or created employment for over 5,000 people. At the factory level here in Machakos, we employ on a full-time basis 105 staff, both men and women, but with a greater number of women and young women at that. So, and as a social, we endeavor to say one thing that we know speaks to sustainability at all levels of the business is being able to inculcate a culture of fairness at all levels, whether we are dealing with the rural community, with the farmers who we source from, the women who we are working with. We have to inculcate a culture of fairness. At the workplace, we endeavor to make it very friendly, especially for women. We have zero tolerance for harassment, and especially sexual harassment, whether reported or not reported. We actively to seek whether it exists and put in place measures that make our working environment friendly to especially women. And for all the workforce, we are conscious, both at the factory level again and at the farm level, that we have a big role to play to ensure that there is safety, because a sick farming community is not an optimal working community. So we make sure that in our practices, we are ensuring the safety of the grower, the farmer, the woman who goes to the field, and as well as at the factory level, we are keeping an environment that promotes good health. The next slide, please. Yes, with Self-Help Africa, VAT applied for the AgriFi Kenya Challenge Fund, which was we were granted. We successfully got a grant from AgriFi Self-Help. AgriFi Kenya Challenge Fund. And what we sought from that grant application was to be able to include farmers with whom we would have stronger relationships and stronger contractual agreements, so that we are able to, we are more sustainable, and we are able to include in a formal way more farmers, more women in our value chain, which is export oriented. And I would say that this was one opportunity that made it possible or accelerated my personal aspiration, which is to make sure that there is continuous improvement in the livelihoods or in the rural woman, and that we have less struggles and more wins as we get along. So I'm happy that we have been able to meet, or we are making good progress to meeting that particular objective, where as at the current situation, or the just concluded season, we were able to source mangoes from some 3,804 farmers. And that was sourcing about 4.8 or 4.9 million kgs of mangoes, with a value, which means that we were able to pay off for the fruit that we bought from the farmers, some 790 euros equivalent in shillings to the farmers. And that means that the average take home for each farmer would be around 270 euros. And I would like to say here that mangoes is not the only activity that the farmers that we are dealing with are having. It is, as you know, a seasonal crop that comes in between the other activities that the farmers has. But for that, we have an interest to make sure that the farmer is drawing complete benefits of the total household activities that they are undertaking. Yes. The next one, please. And the next one. Yes. So we were able to actualize with the Agrify Kenya Challenge Fund through the Self-Help Africa. We were able to actualize our long-term dream of setting up a drying, a mango drying factory in incorporating mango drying line in our processing. And that means that we had an enhanced capacity to uptake the produce from the farmers that we are working with. We are able to, through the care for the mangoes and the tending the mango orchards, we do not only, as I said a little while ago, we do not only focus on the fruit that we are taking, because we know the farmer's total business is the total activities that they are undertaking in their farm. So we have an interest to make sure that if they are keeping any chicken, that the chicken is doing well and it's translating into a business, or it's adding up to the family's livelihoods. And so we, through our network of the officers and the trainings that we deliver to the farmers, we also make sure that we are including in those training and awareness. And we are trying to bring the rural woman from the back of the class, because we know that in the first instance, they are a little bit shy and will not want to come to the fore. But when they are formed into groups that have a common interest, that has a commercial interest, then it is at that point, because they are small and perhaps closed groups, the woman is able to bring up her voice and is able to be heard. And we encourage this very much, because when they are able to come out within these small group setups, it's more likely that they are going to, the confidence levels will go up, and they will be able to express themselves even in other matters that are not directly related to the growing of the mangoes, for example. The next one, please. Yes. And this is just a bit of our factory and the women we are working with. So we make I personally make very deliberate efforts to make sure that VAT as a business creates a friendly environment for women. At the farm level, I make the rural woman not just my supplier, but also my friend, because at that level, I am able to relate to them on one-on-one as a woman, and I'm also able to encourage them. We try to make a case for the women. At the workplace, again, it's to do with the policies that we have for hiring. Do we make sure that the women are accorded equal opportunities, whether at the technical level or the low-skilled labor? Do we make sure that the women are given the equal opportunities? And then it's also in small things. What are the working hours or the hours of reporting to work and the hours of leaving work? When we first came to Kadome and we were trying to run a training program where we asked ladies to come in and learn what we are doing, so that when we then need the labor during the seasonal, the high season time, we would be able to go out and get the ladies that we were working with. Then what we did was set targets, and then we realized that some of them were not as quick, and especially when you're trying the skill, you're not as quick with what you do, so they tend to take longer. But this then had a somewhat negative effect that we had not completely expected. Why? Because when the ladies went home late, then of course there was first the struggle to make dinner in time, and then the second was that there was a problem with the man of the house because you have come late. And that impacted on whether or not the same lady would be able to come back to the factory in the morning. So when we assessed, we learned that we had it all wrong, and we sought to adjust the hours of reporting so that it's not very early, and then the time they are going home, that they would get home in time. And there was also the element of, is it a safe time for the woman to be out trying to, say, catch the company bus in order to come to the factory, and is it safe for them to go back home? So we were able to work around there. The lesson there was strong, that we must work around the hours that the woman is able to both be productive and still retain her place as the mother and as the wife that she also is. So in our workplace, we are also promoting, flexible working hours, especially for the staff who are working within the office, that they can report and work through and live in good time to still be able to nurse their babies. We are also trying to look at, partnering with the local initiatives. We have a program that is called, we have a company that is called Mother Goose that provides small structures where women can have an opportunity to either have their baby come and they feed them at a appointed time, or they are able to use the rooms to express and preserve the milk for the children when they go back home. So the next one, please. Yes. Okay, this was also the fact that we are living in Machakos. It affords us a good opportunity to be very accessible to the people, and also to live and experience the kind of environment that is here in Machakos, that is lived by the people who live in Machakos. But more importantly, it helps us to create job opportunities in locations where they would otherwise not exist. So for that, we are very proud. We are also able to work getting into the dried mango project or into the mango value chain made it possible for VAT to build a partnership or establish projects in the arid and semi-arid lands in counties that are far to reach, that are low resource based, but we were able to have a presence there and offer an opportunity to make a living in those otherwise low resource settings. And this also makes us quite accessible to, in other words, our business model is such that we make sure that we have field officers who are based in the field locations and are available to provide advice on how to grow, but also extending and using the learning opportunities to reach out to the women and address those other social aspects of the business that are necessary in order to make this business, both for ourselves and for the communities that we work with, sustainable. Sorry. The next one. Yes, I think I sort of went over this, but what we do then is to make sure that we are continuously establishing partnerships with the rural women and the rural farmers, and that are based on trust and mutual respect. We make sure that the farmers are formed into groups or belong to a common interest group, because in this common interest is where it is easy to deliver the trainings. It's also easy to deliver the one-on-one, and where there would be barriers of communication or interpretation, then they are easily addressed. And it's also an opportunity for peer learning, because amongst them, they will be at different levels and they will be seeking to learn from each other. But even more importantly, the opportunity to become formal. Because often, say, for example, the economic empowerment will come from having a recognized business, a documented business. So what we do with the women in the rural, in the communities that we work with, is to make sure that we emphasize, make sure you have a recording of your performance, of your earnings, so that if there is say a savings and credits establishment, then you are able to say, when you go to them, here is my performance. There's something to refer to, because short of that, then the woman is more likely to be to borrow from less interesting, very overpriced mechanisms of borrowing. And we are advantaged in Kenya, because we have a very well advanced mobile money economy, and we are able to pay the woman directly, and she's able to demonstrate or build a history within her M-Pesa operation, is what we call the platform. And she's able to demonstrate that I have these somewhat regular earnings, and therefore if I have this kind of credit, I would be able to pay for it. And amongst themselves, again, as a group, being able to guarantee each other for whatever supplies there, be their inputs to make to improve their farming, or be it says something to make them adapt a climate smart adaptation, then they will be able to access that, and their production will improve, and they will have higher earnings, and they will be able to deliver to take care of their needs. And what is the benefit for even that, you ask? Then we are able to, when you have a stronger group that is enlightened, that is informed, then such a group is more likely to remain coherent, and it becomes a good business partner, not for just ourselves, but even the other value chain actors who seek to work with such groups. Our extension services delivered within those group formations, as I said before, will extend beyond the crop that we are working with. It will seek to know whether the maize that the farmer has also planted in their farm is doing well, or it's translating into a business, or it's able to feed the family and our extension of officers will work with them and to also promote financial literacy, which is important for sustainability. And then through it all, we are able to achieve compliance to the demanded food safety standards, or we are able to demonstrate that and therefore access markets that we would otherwise be locked out of. The next slide, please. Yes, and my personal aspiration is to actually, I hope that one day I will see a VAT Limited that is a model company for women, where women feel valued, welcomed, appreciated, and that VAT becomes an employer of choice, where young women, and as I said, I'm privileged to work with very many young women. So I am least worried on when it comes to issue of succession and seeing progression of women. But I hope that one day VAT becomes that company where young women can see their career trajectory and their career development. Yes, and that's all for me.
Thank you, Jane. I don't know if you can see the hands scrolling up the screen, but
Yes,
getting a lot of round of applause from people.
Thank you.
Really very impressive and
Thank you.
massively inspirational, I think, for all of us, and definitely a model that would be amazing to see that replicated in everywhere. So I think this is not going to be our last time speaking, I think, and having this discussion. I think there's a lot we can take forward from here. Just for there's a lot of feedback coming in through the chat for both for Esther and for you, Jane. So very congratulatory. Just for people who are, if you're putting questions in the chat, there's a lot of chat going on. If you could use the Q&A function, it's easier for us to track, and then the speakers can respond to you directly. So Esther has been busy responding to some of the questions that have been posed in case we're going to be short on time, so we probably won't get to everything, to the full Q&A at the end. I just want to reassure everybody that we will be sharing the slides for all of the speakers. And I know that there might have been some issues on the last presentation. I could see a few boxes appearing here and there, but that'll be solved hopefully for the next speaker. And obviously when we send the slides around, you'll see them in full. So yeah, thank you very much, Jane. As I would like to hand over to Ven for our next presentation. So Venlis has worked with us for 15 years in Malawi, so we're being joined from all parts of Africa today. Venlis joined us. We were a very tiny little organization called Harvest Health in Malawi, and I think we've grown up together ourselves and Venlis. She's currently working as development facilitator for the Kulima project in Malawi, as the largest one we've ever implemented, reaching 400,000 households, and she is a focal point for gender and nutrition, and based in Chitipa in the north of Malawi. So over to you then.
Thank you so much, and great to be part of this webinar today. As Ola has already introduced me, my name is Venlis Chimpesa. I work as a development facilitator for the Kulima Beta project in Chitipa. Chitipa is probably one of the districts that borders two countries, Tanzania and Zambia. Yeah, next slide, please. And next as well, I think this one has already been covered by Ola. Yeah, so I'll also talk about my personal journey. Growing up as a girl, I think I learned a lot from my mom, because my mom was a member of the Water Point Committee, and I remember to have been following her every time she goes to her meetings. So my mom, I believe, inspired me a lot to have that interest in extension work. Though I lost her later in my years when I was about 12 years old, but I grew up with my brother. Next slide, please. Yeah, so working with the communities have been the most interesting part of my life. I have learned a lot through working with the communities. I've worked in almost every part of the country, from Nsanje, which is very far, district in Malawi. And I've also enjoyed diverse cultures, learning different languages within the country. Waking up, seeing my motorcycle, I think was one of the most interesting part of my life, because I enjoy riding motorcycles and I enjoy interacting with the communities. And when I see women, and even when they see me, they marvel at me. Some people think, they send comments like, no, I think she's a man. And when they come close and realize that I'm a woman, they say, no, but she does ride her bike like a man. So all those sentiments make even my love for community work even stronger. As Ola has said, I've worked with the organization for quite a long time. I've actually grown with the organization in all areas of my life. I was also privileged to participate in a under scholarship, under the Marshall Pathway Scholarship, where I did practical agriculture at Shadworth College in the United Kingdom. That also impacted my life greatly. That actually motivated my life and also gave me an opportunity to learn from different cultures are very different from my own culture in Malawi, and also how agriculture is being practiced in very differently, having large farms. Okay, and as opposed to some of the community work that we do, where farmers really do quite subsistence farming. So the most interesting part of the course was the issue of natural resources management, where it was almost incorporated in every farm that we saw in the United Kingdom. One thing that made me really feel great is when I visit areas where I worked, like 5 years down the line, and I still see the activities or the project is still running. Whatever was in the project is still being implemented, and farmers still embracing the impact of the project. I think this is the area that inspires me a lot. And when I see women growing financially, economically, being able to send their children to school, being able to be self-reliant in terms of money, that actually makes me very strong in whatever I do. Next slide, please. Next. Yeah, so SafeHub Africa is a lead agency in the European Union funded Kulima Beta project, which is in 10 districts. The project targets 402,000 farmers, smallholder farmers. And the project uses farmer field school approach to roll out its interventions through the season-long learning. The field-based groups are basically 25 members to 30 members. They do meet and learn various agriculture principles through discovery and experience. Gender is mainstreamed as a special topic in all the farmer field schools. And in the project, we use the gender action learning system approach, the KIOS approach, as well as household approach. So basically in the gender action learning system and the household approach as the two common tools that are used. The vision journey, which Esther talked about. The vision journey basically allows a household, family members to articulate their desirable future and aspirations and develop actions that will enable them to fulfill them, to achieve their desirable future. And the gender balance tree is actually a representation of a tree. Basically, it allows a household to look at how they do produce, how production is done at the household level in terms of division of labor, who does what at household that brings in money, and who does this in terms of the man and the woman. And at the same time, they also look at the utilization. How do we spend the money at household level? And as a woman, how do you spend your money? As a man, how do you spend the money? And as a household, including the children, how best do they spend the money? And this enables them to look at the things that are not very important for the household, so that they can let them go, or they can stop them and encourage the best practices just to allow them to make sure that they are attaining their goals. Next slide, please. Yeah, so what has been done so far through the Ukulima Beta, the project trained the community-based facilitators as champion on gender action learning system. So these community-based facilitators are the ones who train farmer field school members. They do help them to come up with their vision journeys and also monitor implementation as to how much they have done with the vision. And also the project to build capacity of lead farmers as gender champions in farmer field schools. The same, the lead farmers also do help the farmer field school members and even other community members to come up with the vision journey as well as the gender balance tree, just to make sure that there is that joint decision making at household level. Yes, and so far it have reached up to 26,000 households, of which 54% that have been trained are women. And as I've already said, the same training in the vision journey, gender balance tree. Actually, these help farm field school groups and individual members to articulate their desire, their future, and develop action that lead to realization of their aspirations. Next, please. Yeah, and the part of gender mainstreaming, the project developed comic books. Comic books basically help in facilitating dialogue and creating awareness among farmer field school members on the existing household gender relations, gender-based violence issues in livelihood activities. So the gender comic book basically asks questions to say, like, what do you see on the picture? What does the picture mean to us? Does this happen in our community? Which is the best way to do things? How best can we do to promote the best practice? So this is done at either farmer field school meeting or even field days that the farmers conduct, or agriculture fairs that farmers conduct, so that they reach out with they reach out to more members, more community members on issues of gender-based violence and joint decision making. Another thing, we also do integrate messages in the farmer field schools on gender-based violence and protection against sexual exploitation and abuse. This is done through radio dissemination meetings, even the farmer field school meetings. This is basically aimed at addressing discriminatory norms and practices that happen in the communities. So far, the project in all the 10 districts has reached up to over 288 farmers, of which 159,000 are females. And also in the farmer field schools, We do conduct sensitization meetings on GBV reporting, that's gender-based violence reporting. So in Malawi, we have some top leaders that are used to report gender-based violence. So far, we've reached up to 480 farmer field schools. Next, please. Yeah, so this is just a case of a farmer field school initiative, which is called Tuyule Farmer Field Schools, Farmer Field School, which is integrating gender in all its activities. So Tuyule Farmer Field School has 30 members, of which 20 are women and 10 are men. And the Farmer Field School has a champion who happens to be a village head. And the village headman acts as a role model on gender and has taken sensitization on gender. He uses the gender comic book. So every time they have got a meeting, he stands up and facilitates the dialogue using the gender comic book. His own interest is on expenditure, utilization, and production, because to him, he thinks that production is done with little or no challenges. But the challenges basically comes when they have harvested, the communities have harvested. It's when it comes to markets, it's only the man who benefits. So village headman Ikombe Nchitipa has taken up that as his own passion to train his communities, make sure that when they have produced, even the expenditure, it is done jointly. So through the comic book, Tuyule Farmer Field School has reached out to more community members with the other than information in markets and utilization, but also on 6 food group. And also through the joint decision making in Tuyule Farmer Field Schools, some members have reported increase in production from 3 bags of 50 kg sack of maize to 20 bags of 50 kg bags of maize. Next, please. Next. Yeah, so in terms of networking and partnership for gender equality, SafeHub Africa at national level is a member of National Gender Technical Working Group. Is also a member of Malawi Irish Consortium on Gender-Based Violence and the National Gender-Based Violence Cluster. It does also support coordination through the Ministry of Gender around the key gender-based violence global events like the 16 Days of Activism and International Women's Day. So these activities basically for the national one, it is done at national level, and for the 16 Days of Activism at the district, we also do support activities around the 16 Days of Activism, where we decide when we can do that, and the Farmer Field School members also participate in the 16 Days of Activism at district level. And at district level as well, SafeHub Africa is also a member of the Gender Technical Working Group. And the initiative specifically, SafeHub Africa co-chairs the Gender Technical Working Group committee, and the key activities include, we do conduct quarterly planning and review meetings. We also do joint monitoring on the gender activities that are done by partners as well as the government. Next, please. And one issue that is also that affect the communities is the issue of child marriages. In Geneva alone, in the period of July 2020 and December 2021, we documented 269 child marriages, of which 45 were males and 224 were females. Child marriages usually happen due to issues of culture, poverty, and sometimes it's also issue of peer pressure where young people just follow what others are doing. So, so far, the committee in that period of July to December last year, the committee with support from committee leaders managed to withdraw 56 females from arranged marriages and sent them back to school. However, this year we have seen a great decrease in as regards to child marriages. For example, for the month of July this year, the district recorded only 3 child marriages compared to 19 last year, same month. And we believe this has been so because of awareness meetings that we conduct as a district, and also opportunities that we have, like the 16 days of activism, where messages of dangers of child marriages are disseminated to wider community. Next, please. Yeah, so from my own experience, working with the communities, I've learned that girls who marry before the age of 18 are more likely to face gender-based violence. Even when that happens, it is even more difficult for such kind of girls to send their children to school and to meet their daily needs. Unfortunately, the challenges that these girls face, they even affect their children more. So as a committee, I think I already talked about this, as a committee at district level, we do hold awareness meetings, and through other meetings, we do reach out to committee members with the information on the dangers of gender-based violence. Next, please. Yeah, so in terms of lessons learned through working with the communities, I've learned that it is very important to involve community leaders in the issues of gender. This has shown an increase in adoption of best practices at household level, because as you know, if you're involving chiefs, if you are involving influential leaders, these are the people that people already listen to. They have a special respect for them. And if they've been involved, they'll be able to influence positive change more easily. And another lesson that I've learned is that Farmer Field Schools offers an excellent opportunity to move away from traditional role models and household dynamics. There is need for deliberate male engagement in activities related to gender and nutrition that are socially prescribed as women's roles. Yeah, this is very important even in activities that like cooking demonstrations or nutrition messages. If you are involving women alone and you leave out men, it is so difficult for a woman to introduce a new recipe at home or to introduce a technology at home. But if you include both men and women, if you use men to even send messages, it is much easier. This is something that I have personally experienced. Yeah, so another lesson that I've learned is that the Farmer Field Schools enhance women empowerment, self-confidence, and the imagining of their own role in agriculture activities. So there is also need to integrate other learning programs to address low levels of literacy among women, which impairs their agency. And usually this contributes a lot to when it comes to leadership positions in the community. So if a woman cannot read and write, they are always sometimes very shy to take up leadership positions compared to women who are able to read and write. So my own experience is that it is very imperative, very important that we do integrate other learning programs to address low levels of literacy among women. So from me, I think this is the end of my presentation. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. And I like our other speakers, very powerful message coming through there from everything that you're saying. And I suppose it's key to note, and you made that point very, very eloquently at the end. So, I mean, the conversation today is about women and empowering women, but it is crucially important that we are bringing men into the conversation at every step of the discussion and bringing them kind of along the journey and changing the mindsets and the behaviors. Going to move on now to Aissatou, who is our final speaker today. Aissatou is joining us from the Gambia. I introduced her earlier on as the Queen of Recycling. She's also a climate hero, featuring in the book Earth Heroes. In 2012, she won a Making a World of Difference Award from the International Alliance for Women. And as the founder of Women's Initiative Gambia, has trained over 11,000 people, mainly women, all over her country on the dangers of plastic and the opportunities for upcycling waste. But the kind of really impressive impact on the work has been the Gambia government banning the import and use of plastic bags. So all taking a step forward to improving the environment. And Aissatou said she sees it as her duty to leave the world a better place. So that sort of policy change is absolutely crucial to that. And I won't tell her story for you. We'll pass you over now to Aissatou, and you're very welcome. Do we have Aissatou? Are we having an issue? Apologies for this. You seem to be having a technical glitch. Let me see if I can do anything. No, apologies. I'm not able to.
Hello?
Hi, Aissatou. Yes, we can hear you.
Hello? Are you here? Okay, thank you. So I am, first of all, congratulating all of you who sit in one place or sit in different places and thinking about us as the rural women, to celebrate us. Yes, we need it. We work so hard to make a difference in the development of the world. And then I'm not sure of whether other people are celebrating rural women, but this is the first time I heard about it. And I am so happy and I'm so proud. Congratulations to all of you. And I would also say congratulations for the speakers who have already passed through. And I definitely learned a lot from you as women, particularly rural women. Wherever we are doing a lot of difference to the development of the whole world. I will begin with my journey. I am from the rural country of the Gambia, within the Central River region, in a very rural community, in a very I never been traveling to anywhere different from being with the community, and then reading the environment and also learning a lot from my mom, because my father died when I was 9, and my mother took all the responsibilities to make sure that he carried us and give us all the necessary information and all the necessary skills and all the necessary environment for us to be grown up with a disciplined idea, whereby we will be able to share whatever we have with the rest of the world. And then I learned a lot from her, doing multiple different type of work that she normally do to make sure that the family, they have food on the table. And even if we don't have food on the table, she's always creating something that is going to make us happy as the kids, to understand that the world is like that, because you can have food today, tomorrow you can lack of food. And there are some countries, or there are some people part of the other side of the country, they might not having food, sometimes the full week or sometimes 2 days, and they're living. So we need to learn the different cycle of life, which I really appreciated. And then while I was being with my mom, I learned from her that my father is a refugee from Mali, which I realized, when I was having some kind of interaction with the kids of the community. They always call me, names, because my parents, they are refugees from Mali. And I never knew that until I realized that there is too much of names that they're calling me. And I asked my mom, and she explained everything to me, and she was crying. And I started realizing that this is the cause of what is happening. And I feel like this should not be something that should be last long. We have to try to make something towards this. And I start thinking about how can I do this? It's have been into my mind for a long time. And I was thinking about how can I make a change to this? Because the next generation, they should not be feeling this type of situation, because life change. Every different year, we see different style of life. So if we leave this situation within the environment, the next generation, they will feel a very difficult life. So I said that I know that the whole community, or within my family, the whole family, they will not ready to take the responsibilities. And wherever you go, if there is any changes, you have small group of people or one particular person who take the responsibilities. Whatever challenges it is, you take it to make sure that you make a big changes. And I was ready to do that. So when I finished my grade 6, I go to secondary 4, and I did my Form 1, Form 2 to 4, and I have a good grade. When I came home, I was coming home with a very happiness life, believe that I will leave the rural now and go and settle in the city, because that's what was how it looked like that time. So I came back home and I showed my results to my mom. She never been to school. She have no idea about what is mark is and what is a grade mark. So when I came back home, I showed it to her with a happiness, and I said, now I'm ready. I want to go to the city to go to high school. And she cried a little bit, and then have very strong to show me that I can do it, because your father died and I have no brother who can help me. Your father have no brother who can help me. He only have sisters who are also living in a poverty. So I don't see anywhere I can get money to send you to go to school. What I was expecting is for you to finish school and start work and return back to me. And I understand that that is true. That is a culture. But how can we change that culture so that the next generation, they will not face that kind of mentality? And I said yes, and I decided with myself that I want to stay in the community. I don't want to go to the city now, because if I go there without going to school, it doesn't make sense to me. So I have to sit, and I live in the poverty life, and I know how it looks like. I know how difficult it is. So I am speaking, whatever I said it through my own life. So I decided to stay with my mom, and I realized that my mom, they have a group of women with a women's group, whereby they met every Thursday to pay a little money and then put that money to utilize it as a women's group. But always when she came home, she always, start complaining. The money went there, nobody knows where the money is, and those type of complaints. And I said, I want to talk to the president of the group. If they accepted me, because I am not going anywhere, I'm sitting here to decide my life, what I want to do. So I can help them. I can be a volunteer, help them. That is the time I start thinking about become a volunteer, support people without no money, because I see my mom doing it for a long time. So I went to the president and I explained to her that, do you need somebody to become your secretary? Because I am in the community, I can do it for you. I can support you as my mothers and my aunties. She said yes. So that is the time I start being their secretary. And then those days, all the indigenous communities, their kids, they have scholarship, and they went to the city to do their high school. And I was the only one who was living in the community. So they were so happy to employ me to work with them because they are not going to pay me any money. But you see, sometimes you take very difficult journey, which will be at the end of the day, it can be an opportunity if you bear it and then do it from your heart. So I did it. And then after 2 months, the governors called them and said, we hold a meeting, and each group, you have to send your secretary and the president. I have to go. So they sent me. I was at the main road. I met with a Pisco volunteer. She was having argument with the driver. She was going the same direction with me, but they were having little argument with payment and change. So I interfere and help. So we joined to the same car, and I was discussing with the Pisco volunteer. And she told me, I am going to be staying in the community for 2 years. I said, what? I'm a health volunteer. I'm going to help improve the health of the community and the surrounding villages. I said, do you think you will be able to handle the nature of our weather? She said, yes, because it's my commitment. I said, why not? That's the time I start thinking, somebody from America and the situation and the weather that is in the US, you leave that place and come to Africa to give us services without no payment. Why not us as Africans? So that's the time I start thinking about and said that what I'm doing is reality. So when I went and came back, she took my name and come to visit me in my house. So when she came, I was sitting with my mom. So I saw her coming and I was asking my mom, I don't know what this white lady is doing in our compound. She said, let's just wait. When she comes, she will explain. She came and remind me where we met and what we discussed and so forth. I said, oh, wow, have a seat. And then the following 2 days, I visit her and she showed me all her pictures from home, from Pisco side and everything. And I was like, this is a great job. So when she went to Banjul, to their main office, because she learned different languages to our own language, and she cannot communicate well with us. Their office Pisco told her to find a tutor in our own language. And when she came to my house and asked me whether I can do it. I said, yes, I'll be very, very, very happy to do it. But she told me it's a little money that they're going to pay. I said, the money is not interested for me. What is interested for me is the cultural interaction. And also the little idea that I'm going to learn from you, add it together with what I have to be able to continue with my journey. I'm not looking for money now. So that's how I did, working with Pisco as a community counterpart for 2 years. After the 2 years, Pisco office, they recommended me to become a language and culture helper. I did that for 1 year. And then after the 1 year, they recommended me to become as assistant technical trainer within Pisco office. So I did that for 4 years, and they have shortage of funding. So they dropped all the assistant technical trainer for health, environment, and education. And that is the time I have also another appointment with an organization, Swedish organization called Future in Our Hands. And I am the one who built their women empowerment unit. I worked with them from 2005 to 2009. That is the time I decided. Now I think I put a lot of information that can help me to be able to drive my journey. So I want to resign from this job and go back home and redesign myself and see how best I can help my region. And when I write my resignation letter and I send it to my main boss, she called me and said, Aissatou, are you okay? I said, yes. So why? Is it that something wrong with the management? I said, no. Is it that something wrong with your payment, your salaries, or your allowance? I said, no. Everything is okay. But now is the time for me to go and reset myself because I have my own journey. I have my goals and objectives, which I want to drive very well within the community, which I want to drive very well within the nation and even out of Gambia, international. And I cannot be under you because if I want to go and deliver, if you want, you can say yes. If you don't want, you will say no, you will not go because you are under my payment. So now I want to go and have my independence and decide what I want to do. And they called me several meetings to tell me, you know what, your family, they're poor. You are the breadwinner of your family. So how can you just stop this and then go and sit for something that you don't know how long it will gonna take you? I said, this is not me. My family, they come to this world in a different way, in a different lifestyles, and also in a different goals and objectives. I am not the one who is going to feed them. They all have their lives. But for me, what I want to do is I want to render my service to the needy people. So if that's going to help me to serve them again, I will do it. If that's going to serve me not to serve them again, I will definitely want to do that. But there is nothing that can stop me to move. So that's the time they accepted my resignation letter in 2009. And I went back home to the village. I started thinking about what umbrella should I use to be able to win the heart of the men. Because the men was that time, they were my biggest challenges. They were saying that if these women, I help them, and they stand independently in terms of speaking, in terms of decision making, in terms of their own finance, then they will not respect them as men. And that was not my goal. My goal was to make sure that the women, they know their responsibilities. The men, they recognize women within the good work that they're doing, work together with them as couples so that they can develop their household and it come out to the community and go out to the country. But if women are staying with the life that they're staying, always they will come and say, what do you say? How can I do it? If women stay into that, women will stay suffered, they will stay nurtured, but the government, the country will never move forward because women are playing a bigger role. So when I went back home, I was thinking about how can I escape from the men? I said, now what I should do, when I was being a Peace Corps as a environment Peace Corps counterpart, we did a lot of training on environment, and that is my expertise. So I want to use recycling plastic bag, waste management as my umbrella. So I called a meeting to the community and I said, now this is the idea that I have. I want to work with the group and support them as a community. But when they came and listened to what I was talking about, going to the garbage, collect waste, turn it into products, they were so annoyed with me. And that will take me to the book that wrote about my journey. You will see that 4 women joins me together with 1 young girl. That's 5 of us. We start this journey. And then when they respond to me, they came to my house and said, yes, we think that we want to make a try of what you want to do. So how do you think we can do it? I said, we need to go to the landfill and collect waste, particularly plastic. And then we come back and I show you how to turn them into products. So they came to my house, we start doing that. And then the first sales that we did at Peace Corps, it was a lot of money that I gave them and we start sensitizing. From the beginning of the community to the end of the community, we hold the money, hold plastic and start talking. And that's where people come, especially women, to ask us, how do you get this money? And then I said, you explain. And they explained and we said, if you want to be part of us, you want to be part of the movement, come to Aissatou home and you register. That is the time we register until we have more than 50 women and we start this movement. And I said, now, as long as it's 50, we can go out and be under a tree and start working. And when we did that, for the second day, I went home and the men, they sent delegation, somebody came to my house and fought me until they wound my eye. This eye is not seeing, my left hand is not seeing because of that. So we went to police and they arrested that man. But because of the nature of our culture, my mother was so crying and said that that man, that boy will not be locked because of she's a friend of her mom. And I cannot say no to my mom. But what I told them at that point at the police station, I said, I will leave this, I will let it go. But I was trying to use this as a lesson learned for you to understand that everybody who born into this country, have your ID, have your birth certificate, you have full right like anybody does. And I was trying to use this opportunity to train you. But because of my mom, I will let it go. But I will continue teaching you for you to understand that there is nobody who born in this world and you have a mark at your back that you are going to lead people unless you work for it. If you don't work for it, try to make a change, nobody will follow you. Even the change that you are trying to make, if it is not going to support people, they will not going to follow you. So everybody have the right to do what I'm doing. And then after my treatment, I came back again and I started working with the women. I continue working with them. They do a lot of recycling of plastic. And with plastic, we use it as a umbrella where we discuss things that is affecting women and kids. How can we solve that as women? And that is the time, 2009 up to 2011, I was working from door to door to ask for opportunities. What can I do to register my own organization? And one time I met with one guy and she told me, have you ever visited Concern Universal? I said, no, I don't know where they are. She told me that if you go and visit them, they might help you to tell you where you should go. And there are a lot of people, they were telling me, you cannot do this, Aissatou, because you did not have a
We appear to have lost Aissatou. We'll just give it a couple of seconds and hopefully she'll come back. I think we're all at the edge of our seats listening to her. We just sent her a very quick message. Let's see if she can rejoin in another medium if possible. Okay, while we wait and see, hopefully that we get Aissatou back. So we'd all love to hear more from her. We can maybe take some of the questions that have been coming through, and I will stop the Q&A when Aissatou comes back on, because I think everybody wants to listen to the rest of what she has been saying. As a common question put to all of the speakers that's come through in a number of different questions has been, how are you liaising and interacting with government partners and authorities to ensure sustainability of the actions? I mean, that was even to yourself, Jane, as well as to Vanlis and Esther on the more traditional development style programming. It is, we all know it's key that all of these changes are embedded in the national structures where possible. I'm not sure if Jane, do you want to maybe have a go first, and then Esther or Vanlis can join in as well?
Yes, and for us, we work within we seek not to introduce any different policies and approaches than those that have been adapted at the national government as well as the county governments. We are players in the agricultural sector, and we therefore are governed by different approaches, the approaches to food safety systems, the approaches to agriculture itself. So we try to align all our programming with the approaches that have been proposed by the government. Mm-hmm. And that way then we avoid any different, and there's also a lot of benefit in so doing, because all the actors who go out to seek partnership with the farmers do so with the expectation that there's going to be sustainability. And if this then is different from the approaches that are proposed and documented by the authorities, the regulators, and the government, then it becomes very difficult to make any headways. So I think for me, the approach is that you cannot work in isolation. And it's not just, in fact, the government, the regulators, but it's also other actors who are within the value chain. We try to come together and make sure that the messaging that we are taking is sort of harmonized and does not conflict or confuse the beneficiaries that we intended for. We only stand to win more if we are consistent in our messages.
Great,
yeah.
Thanks. Thank you, Jane. I might put a slightly different question to Esther, but on a similar topic. So a question's coming in around how do we influence policy interventions, so to tackle some of the issues around land ownership, for example. So do you think it's possible to be advocating for better gender policy interventions to give women that agency and control over resources?
Thank you, Ola, and everyone listening. We always use the local councils as our entry point in the advocacy work that we do. We don't reinvent the wheel, but work within the already established constitution. So what happens is that we work together with the lower councils, right from the village to the sub-county, to the district and national level. But the issue of land in Uganda generally is a bit complicated in that in Teso, for example, land is customarily owned. It's not nationally owned. So it's up to the clan to know how to regulate the land. So we always, during the advocacy community dialogue meetings that are attended by the local chiefs and the local area councillors, we discuss with them, dialogue with them, and draw a picture. Put yourselves in the shoes of the women that you are denying the right to land. It's kind of a dialogue. It will take a process, it will take time, but we are better off starting it now, and it is ongoing. So you find that there are a few testimonies within the communities where the heads of households, the clan chairpersons are kind of beginning to soften a bit. And when a woman loses the husband, take for example, she is given priority. Previously, she did not have to choose or even had a say of who should take care of her. But it is much different now. So it is a process that we have started and we hope to carry on until change is realized.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Esther. We've got Aissatou back, so I think we'll move back to Aissatou so she can finish what she was saying, and then we can come back to a Q&A if we have time at the end. Thanks, everybody. Can we make sure Aissatou is unmuted?
Hello.
Great to have you back.
Good. Yes. So just to wrap up, to make sure that I put everything together, because the reason why I was working so hard to make sure that poverty, lack of high education and be a young people will not going to stop us, because I know that we need leaders from the rural women. And those leaders, some of them, they are not educated. So we need to help them to make sure that they stand very strong because they can do it. Yeah, take me from there. I registered in 2012 as a community-based organization by the name Women Initiative The Gambia. Under the umbrella of Women Initiative The Gambia, we are supporting today 66 communities. Within those 66 communities, we have direct beneficiaries of women, 5,280 today. And the benefit that they're getting from us is training on proper waste management, recycling, marketing, businesses, and so forth. So we train them different types of skills. And also we included the young people, particularly in schools. Today we are working with 18 schools that we are training on tree propagation, tree planting, and also collecting indigenous seeds to make sure that we bring them on board to educate people the benefit of it, because we have a lot of medical use that we can benefit out of the forest. And today we have a very poor forest. So these are all things that we do to make sure that people, they're connected together. And then working with these women, today it helped them to build their confidence. They know that they're women and they can make a change. And working together with them, it gives them voice within the community that they're living and within even their households. So these are some of the activities that we carried out as Women Initiative Gambia. And also on my way, There is a friend of mine who was studying what I'm doing, and it thinks that she thinks that is something that people need to know. That is when she came and joined me, and we wrote a book that called One Plastic Bag. And that One Plastic Bag, it tells about my journey. And it was launched in 2015 in New York City. And then we do a lot of tours in the UK, in America. Every year we do a very big book tour in United States, in different states, in different schools, in different counties, in different libraries, to make sure that people knows that we have a lot of heroes in Africa, particularly within the women's sector. They are doing wonderful job. That is why I said, this celebration is something that we appreciated as the rural women, because we are making a lot of difference that nobody, or if people knows it, is very limited. And also within the work that I'm doing with the women, it takes me to the first presenter or the second presenter who is doing food preservation. Within the communities that we are working with, we understand that there are a lot of malnourished children. They are going down, their weight is going down, pregnant women are dying because of anemia. So what is the cause of that? With the Ministry of Health, we go over and then do some assessment, and we understand that the type of food that they're eating is not food that can help them. And it also caused because of the taboo that we are living. When you are pregnant, you cannot eat banana. When you are pregnant, you cannot eat at night. So these are the taboos that the women are living with. How can we change that to reality? So that the women, they can have good food, to be able to have a very variety of babies and also get healthy and have a healthy family. So we call an organization that called Mother's House. That's why we partnered with Concern Universal, today called United Purpose. So we do not community gardens, because they think that if you don't have a big land of garden, you cannot have a vegetable. But we said you can have your home gardens at your backyard. You grow vegetable and bring it to your food bowl, and the family will eat. So we work together with Concern Universal to make sure that we decentralize and educate the women. And they grow a lot of vegetables that they even cannot eat. And now their weight and their kids is changed to better. And we are not even hearing any more of, abortion, women who are pregnant and admitted in hospital, kids who are dying because of they don't have nutrition in their health. We are not hearing that anymore within the region that I'm in, with the support of Concern Universal. And that project have over. So we want to continue, make sure that we use this method as a tool to be able to help communities and give education to the women so that they can sift it down to their communities. There is one speaker who was saying, which is reality, because we cannot work in the absence of the leaders who are living within the communities. Being commissioner, being governor, being alcalde, being imam, women leaders, we come together, and young leaders, we come together and sensitize what we are sensitizing, so that everybody will take responsibilities, and then at the end of the day, we can win the game. And I think if we put together all the ideas that we have as this panel, and then move together and then exchange ideas, I think we will be able to move, we will be able to take this journey where we want to take it. I think to make, the presentation shorter, I will going to stop here. And if anybody have questions, I am ready to share it with you. And I will say thank you very much for the team. Congratulations to all of you. But we together, with the support of the good people that we are working with, who concerned about, the life that we are living within Africa, if we come together as a team, we can definitely make a big change. Thank you very much for inviting me to be part of the team. I am really appreciated it, and I learned a lot from it. And I want to tell the lady who is making the jam that in the Gambia, we have a lot of mango season. We have a lot of mangoes around here, and they are spoiling. So I'll be very happy to contact them to learn about how to, help other women to make sure that we have more women employed to be able to make a difference within their lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Aissatou, for that. I say there are lots of hand clapping going on on the screen. I don't know if you can see it, and we're delighted that you come back and finish what you. Well, there's a lot more we could continue to discuss and get into. I think what you said, I mean, it's incredibly important, and it is that whole, it's the collective together. It's supporting each other, it's mentoring. mentoring each other and those who are younger than us, who will be taking up the challenge for future generations. And I think it's also recognizing that people are at different steps along in the process, and that some people need to be brought along a journey in a longer way than others. And I think we all feel very inspired and motivated by everybody that we have heard today. Just bear with me and let me just have a quick run through some of the questions that we have, and I'll put them to some of our panelists. And I appreciate everybody who has stayed on, because we are way over time. So I don't know if we extend for another minute or two. If people are putting up your hand, we're not in a position to mute people. Maybe if you want to put something in the chat. I'm not sure if you're putting up your hand to speak or to offer congratulations. Apologies, sorry, there are many questions coming through here. So I suppose maybe might put a question to Venlis, if that's okay. And if you want to spotlight some of the other speakers. As Venlis, it's tying in with the notion we have to work with men and bring them along the journey as well, and also recognizing different structures that there are in different parts of the country in Malawi. So have you noticed any noticeable difference in the uptake of the gender-based messaging in villages where there are female chiefs, so where there's a stronger matriarchal leaning, and are you noticing that younger people are more open to gender equity, and do they need less prompting than older generations?
Thank you so much for the question, and thank you all. I think in that case, the most important thing is the position of the person. So whether it's a woman or a man, as long as he's a leader, people listen to. And in terms of involving men in all activities, and in terms of adoption and uptake of technologies, yes, we've seen a lot of change, especially in the area of nutrition and joint planning and decision making. So whenever you are introducing a new technology, a new concept, when you've left the man aside, it is normally opposed. But when it is the man who has learned a new recipe, when it comes to the adoption at household level, it's quite easier. That's my own experience. And for the young ones, I think there is a lot of work to do. Of course, in terms of adoption, young people are very easy to talk to. But remember, we are all coming from families where gender roles are being constructed. So you are growing up at a family where washing plates is seen as a girl's job. Farming or going to farm is seen as a boy's job. So gender roles, gender disaggregation of roles is already done at household level. So you are talking to someone who has already observed that kind of differences at household level. Now, it also requires a lot of training, a lot of capacity building, so that kind of culture really is subsidized. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Venlis. Isatou, I'm going to put a question to you, if I may. When we were speaking previously, I think we're all sitting here incredibly impressed and inspired and motivated by you, but you did say that some people see, as a female leader, they see you as a threat.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that? Is it a question of just not backing down, or a range of tactics?
Yeah, I think, thank you very much for that question. But what I normally do is, you know, in this, when you go to the rural communities, they have time for you and listen to you if you are talking to them something that is going to be long-term benefits to them. So at the beginning, they were thinking that if I empower their women in an area of training them skills, training them on their rights, they will not respect them as women in their households. And that was not the case. So what I did was I called a kind of a training workshop whereby I invite all the women together with their husbands. They come in one hall and I show them my goals, my objective, the long term and the short term, and how it is going to link men and women when we talk about development. When we talk about development in the household, how important it is if the men and the women, they are working together. And I always give them sample. If your wife is working at the center here and we build a women's center, if your wife is working in a women's center and they sell their products and have, for example, $200, for example, because that's the unique money, $200, and also you have like $100 in your house, and then you want to buy a bag of rice that is costing $200. You know that it's now important for me to have a dialogue with my wife. And then you understand that the system that we are using was a kind of a taboo, or it's a culture that the man have to do everything to the woman. But when we turn it to another way around, whereby we understand that we are all human beings and we are working together and everybody bounds to make income. And if we make income and we have a dialogue whereby we will share responsibilities, then we will understand how important both parties are. And I give them a scenario of where your wife have $200 and you have $100 and a bag of rice is costing $200. And then you come and discuss with your wife. If you discuss with your wife and the wife understand that all is about the family and develop the family, the wife will take 100 and give it to you and you buy a bag of rice and you have a good life. And this is what we explain to them. And also we have a savings at the center, whereby if the wife makes sales, they will divide what they have, income, into 3 parts. One part is taking home to take care of problems at the family. That is the top priority. And the other one, you save some money to support your girl child to go to school to the higher level. And then the other small income contribution is to develop the center. So this is how we do it. And they see that their wife, they are supporting them indirectly and directly and indirectly within the family. That's how they understand it. And we come together for meetings, so many different sensitization until the men, they understand and they see it and they feel it. That's how we overcome them and they understand us. And now they join us and we are working together as a team within the community. And we use that model whenever we are entering any new community. That is the model that we are going to use, have testimonies. They come to the community and explain how they started and where they are today and how development going faster today. And everybody have a feeling. So that is the tools that I use when I want to make sure that I make a change to that.
Great. Thank you so much, Aissatou. It's past midday or 11 o'clock or 2 o'clock, depending on what part of the world you're sitting in. So I'm afraid we do unfortunately have to leave it there. This is not going to be the last time that we are hearing from you wonderful and very inspiring women. So we've lost Venlas, unfortunately. So I'd like to thank again Venlas, Esther, Jane, and Aissatou. And I think as we keep saying, it is about working together and creating the change in the system. We've seen the potential led by all of you from kind of to unleash the energy and what can be done with that energy, with the supports and the motivation. So yeah, just a huge thank you to you all. A huge thank you to everybody who attended the webinar today. There is a poll that will have appeared on your screens, and we would appreciate it if you could take just a couple of seconds to answer some of the questions there. It really won't take long. We will be sharing the slides with everybody, so we have all of your email addresses. So thank you very much, and thank you for the questions and engagement through the chat. It's been very dynamic throughout the whole presentation. Thank you all very much.
Yeah. So can I hello?
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
So my my last word is to thank everybody again, and then ask permission to the people that I was listening to their stories and their good work, to ask if there is any possibilities that maybe they will allow us to have a group conversation, whereby we will have a kind of a WhatsApp group where we will be able to continue communicating after this program. Because I know that there are a lot of things that one can learn from each other to improve what we are doing in our different countries. So I will see if that's going to be worked well, and they appreciated that, and they think it's something that we can do. Then I will, I am just asking and then trying to appeal to everybody for us to do it, because I believe that together we can make a big changes. Yeah.
Sure, I think that's a wonderful idea. There are some people in the chat getting a bit excited about it as well. I said too, wanting to be added to it, but I think that might be a bit unwieldy. I think some people are available on LinkedIn and other means, but I think just for the panelists initially first, it would be great so we can continue the conversation and as you say, the supporting the other and learning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. People don't be sharing too much private information on the on chats as well.